Are you guys hearing that? Bloody Craig and his bouncing balls coming from the gym. I knew this would happen. I told him I was recording the podcast this morning. Jesus Christ. I have to go up and threaten him during the theme song. Sorry about this, G-Timers. Look, the first episode has absolutely gone ballistic, which I had a feeling would happen. It's my big comeback. Mum called and said she's been inundated with phone calls from her friends about it, but she doesn't understand what a podcast is, so she won't be listening. But I even had a call from my agent, which I haven't heard from him for about 9 months, so I thought maybe he had some mainstream media requests for me or some casting offers because of the podcast coming out, but he was just calling to say he's taking leave of absence to have his bunions sorted, so it's just a coincidence that he called, which is fine. He can call me pre or post-op if any offers come up. Oh, God, shut up with your balls. Oh, my God. If another bloody ball bounces and interrupts my flow, I'll blow a bloody gasket. Sorry, G-Timers. I didn't mean to start this episode in such a snappy-chappy way, but this podcast studio under the gym in the storeroom was supposed to be my safe haven, so Craig will be getting a stern talking to after this. Look, I don't want to have to take this to the principal, but I will if I have to because, except she doesn't know that I'm down here and probably wouldn't sign off on me doing a podcast, if I'm honest, but so I have to sort this out myself as usual. The life of an entertainment industry professional / drama teacher isn't for the faint-hearted, guys. Let's get on with it, because it's G-time, not free time. Welcome to Mr. G's room, G's room, G's room. Welcome to Mr. G's room, come inside. Please be quiet, year nines. And take your shoes off and find a spot on the floor. Welcome to Mr. G's room, G's room, G's room. Welcome to Mr. G's room now.
Hi, Mr. G. My question for you is, do you feel like you were exploited by the show somehow at all, and did you get paid?
I get this a lot. People say to me, Greg, are you bitter that the show chewed you up and spat you out without a spin-off? Yes and no. Look, it's complicated, guys. Was I paid? A pittance. I can't say how much, but Ronnie, my agent, was appalled. He knows the guy that did Nolan Donahue's contract in the 90s, and apparently she got 4 times as much as me, so... Look, I do hold grudges. People say, give it up, Greg. But that's not how I roll. I believe in never forgiving someone who does you dirty. It's like the Year 4 whoopee cushion incident where I was humiliated by a boy who I will never forgive. You know who you are. That's just how Greg rolleth. Look, I didn't love how I was portrayed in the show, as I've alluded to last episode. I feel like they made me seem like a bloody self-absorbed, devious little twat. And look, we'll get into all this when we go scene by scene, breakdown. I'm going to do that later in this episode, but I'll point out where the lies were and finally get to defend myself. But look, where was the focus on my genius musical writing and producing and directing and everything that I do? I thought that was virtually glossed over. And that's what I was led to believe this documentary was going to be about, my productions. So, winding back the clock, I was the first one contacted about the making of the documentary. I've heard Reddit rumours that it was the private school girl because she had the show before, but no, it was me. Because the producers had heard about my musicals. And I was told the working title of the show was The Musical Man, which was, I would have been happy with that, but it wasn't to be. And while I was absolutely the star of the show in terms of airtime and impact, I did have to share the screen somewhat with the others. So I felt very misled by the producers, and the shoot itself was unfortunately in one of my off years, which I was devastated about when I found out. But the gods intervened And Meredith Cotton's mother carked it in New Zealand, which meant I could cancel Anything Goes, that terrible production she was putting on, and I could write my original show, and all while the cameras were rolling, as you saw, which was a godsend. But, making me out to be this difficult, show-off, bloody troublemaker fusspot was an absolute crock of fiction. I was edited to look bad. End of. And I highly suspect I was revoiced in certain scenes. There's some very sus narration going on there. And I was saying to Rodney, for all I know, my voice has now been turned into an AI, which I will be taking legal action if ever I hear it anywhere. Rodney actually thought he heard my voice on a moisturiser ad the other day, and I raced home when he told me and got on the internet, and turned out to be a husky voice woman. But it could have been an AI version of my voice that they'd stolen from the show, for all I bloody know. I did actually threaten to sue the producers back when the show first came out for defamation, for their portrayal of me. I wanted damages. At the time, I thought it ruined my chances to crack Hollywood. I thought casting agents are going to run a mile from me now, from this version they've created of me. But Margaret, our principal at the time, she pulled me aside and she said, look, Greg, think of the notoriety you've gained from this exposure of the show. Like, this could lead to big things. And, it's better not to rock the boat. And at the time, I believed her, so I withdrew my case. Case dismissed. Jury not required. And look, it was a few weeks later, once the show had exploded, and this cavalcade of love poured in for me, and everyone was quoting me, and I became very, very famous. So Margaret was right, and I did a few unofficial shopping centre appearances back then where I was able to sell some of my signed black and white headshots that I printed up and just up on centre stage at Westfield Parramatta. It was unofficial, so I just popped up there with a card table and just yelled out to shoppers and doing some of my famous quotes if they needed their memory jogged. But shopping centre security were onto me, and I was escorted out by the scruff of me neck a few times. But look, I said to Margaret, this was years after the show had aired, I said, the notoriety that I have single-handedly brought to this school is unfathomable. The dollar value I'm bringing to this school is well into the millions, if you could calculate it. I don't know how we would, but I just know that I'm a major draw card for student intake. I put the place on the map. And every year 7 kid at orientation was like, where's Mr. G? And can I do drama? And so I'd often pop out and join the orientation groups and say, here I am, and check me out, take a selfie and get it out of your system, guys. And the kids would say, oh, Mr. G, can you say 2 words, deal with it? And can you say coffee, coffee, coffee? And can you say shove it up your ass, Margaret? And I'd oblige, and because I'm a good bloke and I'm a team player, and I do charge 50 cents a quote for the year 7s for those quotes, but that's fair enough. I'm not a free entertainment service for them, so I've got a little money jar that I get them to pop their coins in, or it's an IOU if they don't have the cash on them. The jar's always on my desk and they can pop in later and pop that little payment in. Rodney said I should give that money to charity, but instead I bought a limited edition Paddy Lapone hoodie with the proceeds 1 year, but embroidered signature and everything, official merch. I get a lot of compliments from staff when I wear it on rehearsal days. Look, so right, next segment, we're going to break down my opening scene from Summer Heights High, and I'm going to point out in detail where I was manipulated and thrown under the bus with the editing. Plus, I've got to tell you guys what happened with my resignation from Summer Heights High kerfuffle last year. That was, oh God. Prepare to have your minds blown, G-timers. Okay, let's have a squiz at Ep 1, Summer Heights High. My first scene of my documentary. Just skimming through here to remind myself. Blah, blah, the Tongan kid. And we begin. Ah, yes, here's my Anything Goes rehearsals. Meredith trying to control the room with no authority over the students. This is where the documentary tries to make it seem like I'm taking over, which is absolute codswallop. Look, the truth is that woman, Meredith Cotton, had no idea what she was doing. If I did not get involved in her shows, as you can see there on the poster, I'm credited as choreographer and creative consultant. But let's just say I did a crapload more than those titles, and she took credit as director every one of my off years. There was years of shows after this where I had to bite my tongue pretending I wasn't running the bloody show when I was, all the while watching that woman floundering. It's a pathetic excuse for a teacher. Look, she just couldn't control the rehearsals, as you can see here in that scene, with her whiny, high-pitched voice. And I was very much needed at these rehearsals to just command the room and get the respect from the students. There I am, calling two strong boys over to help me move that flat, and up there running Matthew through his choreo. Busy multi-hyphen at work in his element. Not taking over, thank you very much, documentary, saving the bloody show, more like it. And as I say, credited as choreographer and creative consultant on that show, but I also did the wig styling, I did costume consultancy, co-set designer. I sourced those deck chairs on stage from Kmart. What else? Rodney, my pianist, loaned him out for the show. That was his first one with Meredith, but he came via me. And look, I really tried to modernise the choreo of that tired old dirge of a show, bringing in some more contemporary style moves, as you can see there in that opening scene. And I think twerking was taking off at the time, so I recall I had Reno Sweeney drop her faux fur coat and twerk up against an air vent on the ship's deck at one stage. But look, yes, edited to look like I was taking over. But let me tell you, without me, that show would have been a train wreck, a shipwreck. And thank Liza, it got cancelled and the rest is history. But I did not appreciate the documentary's insinuation that I was being a bossy boots. I was clearly edited to look bad. This is the bloody tip of the iceberg. And for the rest, what happens later in the show, as you guys know. So you can see why I wanted to sue for defamation. But, you know, for me, it was years of allowing Meredith to do these more traditional shows every second year because she thought it was going to pull in a crowd, and me trying to just inject some sort of spark of something to make it, you know, unique. I'm not about churning things out for the sake of it. I want my theatre to challenge and stimulate and confront my audience. Rodney always says, Greg, I get a shiver down my spine every opening scene of one of your original shows, because he never knows what he's going to get. And he loves the shock factor. And, you know, he says it's an ecstatic climax feeling that he gets throughout his whole body, starting at the spine and tingling its way down, and that lasts minutes. And that's what theatre should do, as far as I'm concerned. I remember I had one concept that Meredith poo-pooed for Anything Goes, where I wanted to open the show with a mayhem scene, with the full cast just pouring in from the back of the hall and accosting the audience in a sort of confrontational way, and a challenging way, like blowing on the breath on the necks and dropping ice cubes down their tops and saying iceberg ahead, and a little ship reference, and little audience leg touches and wet willies in the ear, and squirting some water onto the front row, and just making it feel really alive before we launch into the opening scene, and just to give it a bit of oomph. Meredith shut that one down and wanted to open the traditional way. The woman's a bloody sheep, a follower. Whereas I'm an original thinker and a leader and a creative force. And I want to be remembered and make an impact, which is why I'm now at this school flexing my creative juices, and Meredith's still stuck in Alcatraz. Meredith is still head of drama, would you believe it? Go figure. She looks quite different these days, though. She's got a grey buzz cut style look, and by choice, apparently. It's not a chemo scenario, but each to their own. Okay, guys, we're going to finish this week's episode with a little trip down memory lane. I've had a lot of requests for songs from my previous productions, as we heard the IKEA song last week. And this week I thought I'd give you a song from a show I wrote called Downloadin', about a computer that falls in love with a man. And it's a duet between the computer and the man, and I do the voice of the computer for the show. But I also will be doing the man for this one. I just got a little effect on my voice for the computer, and it's the moment in the musical where they are both in denial of their love for each other, and they haven't come to terms with it yet, and the man's finding himself really falling for this computer, and he's staying up all night and staring at it and hogging the phone line, and his parents are getting mad. And I wrote it years ago, so it was the dial-up internet days where you had to use the phone line, and this guy's living with his parents still, and it's one of those large desktop computers that he's got set up in his room facing his bed. And so the song starts with the computer actually turning itself on. That's I remember the audience gasping when that happened. The screen comes on so that the computer can watch the young man in the ensuite, and so he's just got a towel around his himself, and he's coming out of that ensuite. And it's a song called "There's No Way It's Love, Dude," and I'm going to do the voice for both of them. I'm sure I turned you off before I had my shower. Dad said if you're on all night, he'll disconnect the power. Hey Peter, I know it's strange, but I kinda like to watch. Whoa dude, creepy, but I don't mind. I kinda miss you when you're off. And it makes me laugh so much, 'cause you're just a machine. I know, right, dude, it's so damn weird. I'm basically a screen. We're really good pals. We're pals. But it's definitely not weird. We're getting kinda close. Well, really close. But it's not the thing we feared. There's no possible way it's love, dude. There's no goddamn way it's love, dude. No goddamn way it's love, dude. A computer and a guy, the world would question why. Syntax error, it won't compute. Can someone please reboot? We're really good pals. We're pals. But it's not the thing we feared. There's no possible way it's love, dude. There's no goddamn way it's love, dude. There's no possible way it's love, dude. There's no bloody way it's love, dude. You're right, Peter. It's silly. Let's go to bed. I'll shut down now. But I somehow kind of really think it might be love, dude. This season of Mr. G's Room is presented by Helen Gregson. Helen Gregson appears courtesy of Twos and Fours Management. This podcast is recorded and produced by Helen Gregson in Sydney, Australia. All songs written and produced by Helen Gregson. Audio recording by Helen Gregson. Post-production by Helen Gregson. Set design by Helen Gregson. Videography by Helen Gregson. Wardrobe by Helen Gregson. Graphic design by Helen Gregson. Special thanks to Craig from Pear for cleaning out the storeroom, and Rodney Parsons from Summer Heights for the on-air sign. The views, thoughts and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of Helen Gregson, and let's face it, is Summer Heights. High NDA is probably expired now, so go have a cry. Any resemblance to stories and people's deceased or alive, it's not Helen Gregson's fault, he's simply telling it like it is. For updates, follow the Mr. G's Room Facebook page. This is Helen Gregson Productions. See you next week, everyone. And remember, it's G time, not free time. And take your shoes off and find a spot on the floor. Welcome to Mr. G's Room, G's Room, G's Room. Welcome to Mr. G's Room now. No goddamn way, it's love, dude. A computer and a guy, the world would question why. Syntax error, it won't compute. Can someone please reboot. We're really good pals. We're pals. But it's not the thing we feed. There's no possible way. It's love, dude. There's no goddamn way. It's love, dude. There's no possible way. It's love, dude. There's no bloody way. It's love, dude. You're right, Peter. It's silly. Let's go to bed. I'll shut down now. But I somehow kind of really